Good afternoon. Thanks for tuning in. You're watching Ask BQ on Bloomberg Quint Live, and I'm Navneet Saluja D'Souza.
And I'm Alex Matthew. Thank God it's Friday, right, Navneet? But
sure.
It doesn't matter. Any day of the week, Ask BQ is a perfect show for you. If you've got questions on equity, you can send your queries in to us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and WhatsApp, or you can call us on 022-4540-4141. You can also mail us on askbq@bloombergquint.com. Just make sure to add the Ask BQ hashtag.
Okay, but before we get to the individual queries on the show, let's also tell you what's happening with the markets. And yes, thank God it's Friday, but it looks like traders are taking money off the table ahead of the weekend. There is a profit booking seen for both Nifty as well as Bank Nifty. In fact, as we speak, I think these are the lower levels for the day as well. 11,550 down, almost 31 points. Sensex also seeing cuts of 100 points. In fact, Bank Nifty, which was under pressure owing to the weekly options expiry yesterday, in today's trade, just want to highlight, it's breached yesterday's low level as well of 27,965. So currently Bank Nifty is trading with cuts of over 200 points. So watch out for that one. In terms of Nifty contributors today, in terms of Nifty contributors, you've got HDFC, ONGC, TCS, but none of the stocks actually are contributing too much on the upside. But look at the other side. ICICI Bank is dragging the index lower today for almost 14 to 15 points. The other heavyweight, ITC, is also trading in the red territory. The broader market seems to be under pressure too, because the advanced decline ratio is clearly in favor of the decline. So 0.5% lower, nearly 0.5% lower, and the gap is actually widening if you look at the advanced decline ratio right now. So it's almost 1:2 in favor of the declines. Let's highlight some of the gainers from the broader market. Shree Infra is having a good trading session. That stock's gained almost 10 to 11%. Pfizer has seen good gains of 7%. From the chemical space, Sudarshan Chemical is buzzing, and something like Amritanjan, the stock has been very active since the morning session, and it has also touched its 52-week high today, so 11% high for Amritanjan. On the losing side, Hexaware is one of the top losers among the F&O securities, and we know the reason why. 7.9% equity was changed in the morning session, 14% lower for this one, but it's recovered from the day's low, which was somewhere about 401 or 2. Future Consumer, Mindtree seeing profit booking in today's trade. So Alex, it looks like that some money is being taken off the table, at least maybe because it's a weekend.
Well, whether it's that or something else, well, the global trade also is indicative of...
Yeah, the Jackson Hole meeting will be in focus, I guess, tonight.
But with that, let's get our two experts of the day introduced. Sharmila Joshi, who is an independent investment advisor, and Kunal Rambhia of The Streets are here to answer all of your queries. And they're both in the studio, so we can have a rapid fire. I promise you that. So keep your questions coming in thick and fast. But before we start the live queries, Brajesh Shah wrote us an email, and I promised that I would take it at the start of the show. He's bought 100 shares of BSE at 850 rupees per share 6 months ago, and he has a time horizon of 2 to 3 years. He's wondering what he should do. Let's pull up the chart and see where BSE is currently trading, 740. So he has lost a little money on his investment. Sharmila, not really completely out of the way kind of a question, because a lot of people have kind of lost money on BSE. But what's the advice if you want to stay invested? Should you stay invested for 2 to 3 years?
Well, honestly, it's not a stock I like much. I mean, you can maybe from this level you could see a little bit of an upside, and you can take a technical view on that. But I think the reason, very simply, why I don't like the stock is that I mean, if you're looking at it from a business perspective, the kind of volumes that you get on NSE and BSE, there's a huge there's a big gap in that. And yes, I think there have been efforts to sort of close that gap, but I don't think that that is something that has happened. So I think that essentially then people are really looking at the stock in terms of the real estate value, the fact that a lot of other scripts, there's sort of an annuity business, and that there's good dividend. So these are not the reasons why I would typically buy a stock, because you don't want to buy a stock because the value of the real estate it sits on. You want to buy a stock because you're seeing an increased business coming. So the business scenario has to be such that you feel that yes, business is going to go up exponentially.
They've been unable to increase the market share in both cash and F&O.
Absolutely. So that's the reason. But
so in this particular scenario, since he's already invested at over 800 levels, do you think that he should wait for a little bit, maybe close the gap?
Yes, I think in that sense it has corrected a lot. So you can possibly hold on at this level. But as I said, if I had to advise somebody to buy the stock at this level, I wouldn't.
Okay, that's the view coming in on BSE. Let's move on and take Satya Subhash's query. He's bought HDIL at 31 for short term. He wants a view on that, and he's also suggesting if there is a short term fresh entry that can be taken on something like back films. Kunal, I'm going to come to you first for HDIL, bought at 31, currently at 30.3. What would you advise?
So, HDIL, if you look at the price movement, it has almost doubled from the bottom in recent times. So, a bit of correction is expected on the counter. Stay invested. I think 27.5 turns out to be the strong support level. From there, you can expect the target of around 40 in the short span.
And what about something like back films? Can we just pull up this counter? I remember discussing this on the show, and it's been in focus for a while now. 9% lower. Remember, it's a penny stock. It was just going up for some reason in the last few days. But is there a fresh entry that can be taken here?
No, this was the same stock which we discussed on Tuesday.
Oh, we discussed with you only.
Exactly.
All right.
And the stock actually rallied from 5 rupees to 9 rupees. It's a penny stock, hardly any volumes on the counter. But when the stock rallied, it gap up opened and continued. So I think for time being, you can expect those gap filling happening on the chart. Probably, the stock.
Preferably avoid penny stocks.
Preferably avoid penny stock, and if you're holding, keep a stop loss of around 6 for time being.
Okay, speaking of, there's a couple of companies that C. Wangsu wants to know about. He has tried to call us, but unfortunately hasn't been able to get through. He's contacting us from Itanagar in Arunachal Pradesh. He wants a long and a short-term view on a couple of companies, Udaipur Cement and a Z-Learn. Let's pull up Udaipur Cement. From what I can see, it's trading at around 17 rupees. It's seen significant correction in the year-to-date period, but that's not completely out of the blue either. It's about 40% lower than its level in the year-to-date period. And he also wants to know about Z-Learn. Let's pull up Z-Learn as well while we're at it. Z-Learn is currently trading at 38 levels, down about 0.9% in trade. Let's take the short-term view first, and then perhaps you can, if there is anything to be said.
So, as far as Udaipur Cement is concerned, on the charts, there is no momentum at all. When other counters like, India Cement or ACC are doing good, it's advisable to switch over to those counters. My view on, India Cement would be this stock is looking comparatively stronger than Udaipur. Switch over at this point of time, trigger would be around 120, 120.50. On the higher side, expect 140 in the short span. Udaipur Cement is not showing any momentum in spite of good, price movements in the other cement counters. So that's advisable to switch over to other stocks.
Okay, that's the view coming in on, I think there was a query on Z-Learn.
There was also Z-Learn, yes. Z-Learn, let's pull up Z-Learn. It's trading around that 38 level, if I'm not mistaken. 38.5, yes.
I'm just finding the stock. Meanwhile, you can take.
Okay, we can perhaps take the next query in the meanwhile.
Sure. So let's take a query which we've received in the mail. So Bharani Rajan writes to us a query, and Bharani wants to know if Canfin Homes can be bought at current levels with the 2-year view. So that's a long-term query coming in. Sharmila, do you like Canfin Homes?
Well, yes, and I think that overall I like housing finance as a space, because I think that real estate as a sector has not been doing too well these last couple of years, but there seem to be some signs now that maybe things could get back on track for them, and the fact that you've had a lot being done for affordable housing. So I think all housing finance companies can gain. I think for Canfin Homes, that deal going off, there was that expectation that that deal will happen, and then suddenly it was off the table. So that has actually also led to some kind of a price correction. But I think that if you're a long-term investor, definitely there could be another buyer at some point in time, especially as the indication is that that there could be that the willingness to sell is there from the promoter. So I think it makes good sense to hold on to the stock.
But would you advise a fresh entry? Are there better stocks in this space?
Well, I prefer actually LIC Housing Finance, but Canfin Homes is also, I think, quite a number of stocks within that space are fairly good.
Okay.
I believe you have the Z-Learn update.
Right. So, this stock again took a resistance of around 200 days moving average, which was at 39.50. keeping a stop of around 37, one can hold the counter. I'm expecting around 44, 44 and a half in a month's time itself. The stock is showing good rounding bottom formation.
Okay, Sharmila, so there's a couple of queries that I think I'll club. So we have Akira Vinod, who's asking whether it makes sense to have a fresh entry into TVS Motor and Bajaj Auto for the long term. He's got a perspective of 2 to 3 years. And there's also in the ancillary space, we've got Tyagarajan Shanmugam, who's asking about a fresh entry into JK Tyres and Jamna Auto, whether it makes sense. So perhaps you can give a holistic view.
Yes to Bajaj Auto and TVS Motors. I think I like TVS Motors at this point in time over Bajaj Auto, but I think both are good for a longer term, if you have a longer term kind of a view in mind. The reason why I like Bajaj Auto is I think that, the strategy in terms, in going ahead from the management seems very clear cut, and I like that, when you are very sure of sort of where you want to go and how you are going to go about it. So they've taken the big decisions, they've made the moves, and now you have to wait for it to show in the numbers, which has begun to show, but there have been little hiccups on the export front, etc. For TVS Motors, I think definitely the volumes are very good. It's the disappointment has come from the margin picture, but let's hope that there's some recovery there. And also, I think they've had a new launch, as well as the fact that they have this tie-up with BMW, which we could hear something from going ahead. And again, the stock price has corrected significantly from higher levels. So, which is the reason why I prefer TVS Motors over Bajaj Auto. But I think both are good from a longer-term perspective. Coming to JK Tyre and Jamna Auto, possibly I prefer I cover JK Tyre a little more than I cover Jamna Auto, but I think both are decent among the auto ancillary space, and I think for tyres there could be near-term concern with the commodity prices because of everything that's happening. But that said, I think domestically volumes look good, and I think most of these tyre companies are sort of they cater to different bits and pieces of the market, whether it is two-wheelers, whether it's radial tires, whether it's trucks, things like that. So I think they all have something good going for them. So yes, I think.
Would you prefer Balakrishna over JK?
So as I said, they all have their own separate profile. So as a sector, I like it, and I think I prefer a JK Tyre over.
Are there any targets on JK you would like to?
Well, not really, because in that sense, it's quite close to the targets that I had in mind. But I think if you're looking at it from a longer-term perspective, you can stay invested.
I'm going to add one more stock since we've got another email query from Abdul Hakim. I think he wanted to know if he can add something like Minda Corp to his portfolio for the time horizon of 5 years.
Absolutely. I think that's a very interesting sort of a niche auto ancillary to be in, and numbers there also again have been good. So yes, I think with a 5-year perspective, Minda looks good.
Okay, let's move on and just take some more queries. And Naveen Sukhadia writes to us, he is suggesting that today he's bought Ruchi Soya 6,000 shares at 9.4. Remember, the counter is in focus as Adani Wilmar. There are some reports suggesting that they would be buying the company. 9.4 is the level, and he's bought just somewhere about the same level. The stock's locked in upper circuit. Let me come back to you, Sharmila. What did you make of this news? And is there any money that can be made in something like Ruchi Soya after this news?
Well, honestly, as a rule, I don't like to comment on penny stocks.
Okay.
For the simple reason, because you don't know what they're really reacting to. I may be absolutely wrong, and there could be something that's changing on the fundamental basis.
No, it's just a risk-averse strategy, which is totally fine, actually. Kunal, any thoughts on the charts of Ruchi Soya?
Yeah, so, from mid of July till now, the stock is in consolidation itself. On the higher side, say 10, on the lower side is 8.5 kind of range the stock is making. Yeah, good volumes are happening on the counter.
That's because of the news.
That's because of the announcement which has come up recently. I think, about 10 you can expect a good rally to continue. Otherwise, this will be in the range for a longer period of time.
All right, that's the view on Ruchi Soya. We've got a live caller. Shiva Sindhur is calling us from Hyderabad. Shiva, happy Friday. Thanks so much for calling us. How can we help you today?
Thank you, Alex, and hi, everyone. Today, I'm after a fundamental view on 3 stocks.
Okay.
And before I give you the stocks, let me set the time frame. It's around from 3 years to 5 years view.
Okay.
So my stocks are, first of all, it's Britannia. And considering the split today, so what is the view on that stock? And if not that, then what is the best FMCG stock that you can suggest? And the next is IOC, and I'm after this. And my concern is if I put in now, but what is the view for 5 years, considering the electric vehicle fad which is going on in the market at the moment? And the next one is Raymond. In the last 1 month, I have noticed that it has corrected a bit. And considering that they have completed all the capex and they're moving on to new stores and new brands. So what is the view on that? Thanks.
Okay, well, it seems that you've already done a lot of your research, Shiva. So I'm going to ask Sharmila to comment on that and perhaps give you a little more perspective. Britannia first, and would you prefer this over other companies in the same space?
So, I think in FMCG, there's that very clear distinction. So, on the one hand, you have stocks like a Britannia, Nestle, etc., which are trading at very high valuations. And yes, I think you can continue to hold Britannia if you already have it, because I think their product profile is doing well, and I don't really see any reason why they shouldn't continue to do well. But if you were to ask me as a fresh buy, probably at a fresh buy for me at this point in time could be a Dabur.
Okay.
Over that.
That's already at all-time high levels. I'm not talking about the valuations. Yes. All of them are like sky high.
Absolutely, but there is still a gap between Dabur and some of the frontline stocks. So I think I would prefer a Dabur, given because I like its product profile. I like the fact that it has that rural presence. I like the fact that it is in these sort of natural, herbal, Ayurvedic, whatever, that range.
They've been giving good guidance. They said double-digit volume growth for FY19.
Yes, so that would be my recommendation as a fresh pick. But if you were to look in that FMCG basket and talking of Britannia, Colgate, Nestle, I think yes, you can continue to stick with Dabur. IOC I don't like, and especially I don't think this whole electric vehicle logic is really anything to either buy a stock or, because it's way off. And I think even in the US where they've been talking about electric vehicles for the longest time, if you look at the kind of numbers that they're doing and the number of charging points that are available on a sort of nationwide basis, it's not significant enough to really bother a oil marketing company. Probably there could be more competition for oil from gas, in an Indian context. And again, between the three, HPCL, BPCL and IOC, my preferred play would be HPCL. Okay. So I'm not saying IOC is bad. I think you can continue to hold it at this price, but between these three, I would prefer HPCL.
And finally on Raymond.
Raymond, actually, I feel, the investor knows a lot more than I do about Raymond in terms of the new stores that they're opening, etc., etc. So yes, I think given what he has said, it seems a safe bet to continue holding.
So a report card all clear. He's got an A+ on his background check on the companies that he wants to invest in.
Okay, let's move on and take a technical query now. Rangarajan wants to know on L&T Finance Holdings. Can we just pull up that stock? His average buying price is 182. His time horizon is 30 days. He's asking, should I hold, average, exit, what to do? And if the answer is hold, Kunal, what should be the target and stop loss?
So from January onwards, the stock made a high of 185. On the lower side, it went down to 143. Immediately after result, the stock spiked up to again 185. But it has somehow failed to sustain above 185 mark. Okay. So now I would say that if you're already holding it, keep a strong, strict stop loss of 175. Hold it till the time it is not broken on the lower side. Second thing, if at all it surpasses 185 mark, continue to hold. I'm expecting 210, above 185 mark.
Okay. Well, Ramanuj Zawar has said that he's holding Kotak Mahindra Bank at 1,250 levels. Let's pull up the chart and see where it's currently trading, just about at his buy price, in fact. He hasn't asked what exactly he wants to know about, so I'm going to assume that he wants to know about the fundamentals of the company. At 1,250, is it a good strategy to just keep holding Kotak Mahindra Bank?
Yes, because I don't think you can expect any near-term sort of an pop in the because I think that things have gone a little awry for them in the sense that whole strategy of retaining voting rights and diluting stake, etc., has not gone their way, and now they have to come up with another strategy, and it is time bound because you have a 2019-2020 cutoff date looming at you. So how are they going to look at all that? So there will be, if you're either talking of selling to another investor or making or if they're sort of quick enough to close a new acquisition, I think that is some clarity that we require. And the stock was trading at very, very fancy valuations as compared to a lot of the other corporate banks. So I think all things sort of point out to the fact that the stock could be range bound for a bit. But I think that in terms of numbers, etc., I don't really have any, there are no negatives there. So you could continue to hold the stock and wait for more clarity on this whole issue.
Okay.
Okay, that's Kotak Mahindra Bank. We've got one futures and options query coming in from Zenil Satra. Good afternoon, Zenil. Thanks for writing in. Kunal, this is directed to you. Zenil has sold one lot of LIC Housing Finance. Can we please pull up that counter at 575? So she's shorted the counter. Let's see if she's in the money. 576 is the price and she shorted at 575. She wants to know what should be the stop loss for this position.
So now this is again one of the counters on which I'm extremely bullish about.
Okay.
This stock has given fantastic breakout on weekly charts. On daily chart, this stock is clearly making.
Position?
Yeah, it's advisable to close the position, but today being profit booking day, one can expect the stop loss. Keep the stop loss of 580. Keep the short open on the lower side. Close out your position immediately near say 565 kind of levels.
Okay, Bhavani Pradeep is asking for a view on Hexaware. He has 100 shares that he bought at 450 levels. Just pull up the chart. There was an update today about a buyback of shares, wasn't it, Hexaware?
No, Hexaware had a equity changed hands in the morning about 7.8%.
Okay, so that's what I was trying to remember.
And it was at a discount, hence the reason.
It was a discount, yes.
Yeah.
So 450 rupees is his buy price. The shares are down 13%. Navneet just told you why. But with regard to the fundamentals and holding this stock, does it make sense for the long term?
Well, if you have the stock, certainly hold it because we've seen that some of these sort of mid-cap IT companies have given fairly good results, and the stock price sort of has also gone through the roof on a lot of these.
Yeah, I think on YTD basis, it's still up 25 to 30%.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then, if you look at it in terms of valuations, then if you compare the price today with some of the frontline stocks are actually cheaper.
Okay.
So you could, so if you are buying new, for instance, you could look at a Tech Mahindra or an HCL Tech or something.
Are you suggesting this dip should not be used to make any fresh entry into it?
Yes, because I think there could be, if the block has changed at a discount, then that overhang will stay for a little bit.
Okay, that's the view on Hexaware. I'm just going to quickly move on and take some more queries. Sounder Mahendran, he's bought HDFC AMC at 1810, and I think today the stock's crossed 1900 levels. He wants to know if he can continue to hold. He wants a technical view. It did cross 1900 mark in today's session. Kunal, I know you don't have enough data for it because it's just recently listed. But if somebody is holding around 1810, what would you still advise?
This stock, after stellar performance on the IPO day itself, the stock corrected a bit. On the technical front, the stock has made a good rounding formation, and now it's in clear uptrend. Continue to hold the position, keep the stop loss of around 1860, and let the rally continue on the higher side.
How much data do you require to have a technical
at least I need to have, we need to have at least 25 days data. That's a month data.
So I think you have 25 days of data. Right.
Okay, interesting question from Marimuthu Murugan. He's asking about Balrampur Chini. He's got 770 shares at an average price of 100. The stock is currently trading around that 70 rupee mark. It's up about 0.7% in trade. He's asking what the view should be or what his strategy should be. Now, Sharmila, sugar stocks are a little dicey because of the scenario, not just in India but globally. There's a supply glut and pricing pressure. So should you stay away from sugar?
Absolutely, and as you said, most of the commodities follow cycles, and for sugar the cycle is sort of really well recognized, well set, etc. So this is now definitely on the downward leg of the cycle. So it will take a while for it to sort of get back into that upward leg. So you will have supply gluts, you will have pricing as a, you will see it getting reflected in the price that you can command for sugar, and therefore getting reflected on the kind of profitability these companies make, etc. So yes, I think my view would be to really avoid sugar as a space for now.
Okay, avoid sugar as a space is the call coming in from Sharmila. But next one comes from Omkar Nimbalkar. Can we just pull up the stock of Sequence Scientific? And I just want to alert our viewers as well. In the last 4 trading sessions, this counter has been rallying, and it's up nearly 40 to 45% just in the last 4 sessions. So if you could just pull up the weekly chart, probably it could give you a better view. 1 month up 35%, but as you can see on the monthly chart also, maximum gains have just come in. Last 7 days up 42 to 43%. Sharmila, he wants to know, can he take a fresh entry looking at the current valuations? If I'm not mistaken, I think valuations do appear on the higher side for this one.
I'm afraid I don't track.
You don't track it. Okay, so let's just get a technical check. What do you make of the move that one has seen, Kunal?
Yeah, definitely. The stock was in, again, consolidation of around 3 months. Suddenly, with volumes, it has come out of that consolidation. So, for a day, again, if it remains near to the high of the day and the closing is near to high, one can definitely go long on it. I'm expecting around 90 levels, soon to come on the screen.
Okay, we've got a query from Ahmedabad from Dinesh. He wants to know the growth and earnings prospects of 3 stocks. Now, we've spoken, Sharmila, about the auto ag space. Motherson Sumi is a company that he wants to know about. And then secondly, he also wants to know about a couple of graphite companies. So Graphite India, and you have Philip Carbon and Goa Carbon. With regard to the most recent updates in the space, what should his strategy be really?
So which was the first stock?
So the first was Motherson Sumi.
Motherson Sumi. So yes, I think this is a company that I do like, but I think numbers there haven't been all that great. And yes, I think this whole Europe overhang is something that again you need to watch for with this. So unfortunately, this company has, first it got hit by that whole Volkswagen issue, and once it was coming out of that, now you have this trade war and maybe customs on cars coming from out of Europe, etc. So I think that could be the reason, but I think given their again very well spelled out strategy as well as their the kind of acquisitions they've made, this is a stock I like from a longer term perspective. When it comes to graphite, the story is good. I have not individually looked at Philips Carbon and Goa Carbon, but I think HEG is definitely, and Graphite India are definitely stocks that you should continue to hold.
Okay. But fresh entry does make sense?
I would avoid a fresh entry.
Okay, that's it. There were more stocks.
Yeah, I think that covers Dinesh's query.
Sure. So let's just take Souvik Kumar's query, and I think he wants to know if he can enter NCL at current levels. Kunal, I'll come to you for this one. What would you suggest?
Yeah, the stock is again forming kind of base formation near to this present level itself. If the closing for the week turns out to be near to high itself, yeah, definitely one can go long on the counter. I'm expecting around 200 mark soon on the chart.
All right. So have we taken Hudco?
No, not yet.
Okay. So Sumit Kumar is asking a question. Well, it's literally 7 words, so I'm going to try and decipher what it means. So Hudco and Bharat Dynamic, hold or sell. He hasn't given us a level.
Correct.
But do you have, what's your view?
So Bharat Dynamic, I don't have a view, but Hudco, yes, I think you can continue to hold. But as I said, within that space, LIC Housing Finance, etc., are companies that I like. But Hudco, again, it has corrected to a level where I feel it would be really wrong to exit the stock at this price. So for now, I would hold the stock.
Okay, that's the view coming in on Hudco. Before we wrap, Naveen, we've already addressed your query on Ruchi, so I know you were the first one to send us your query on Facebook. Sharmila's view was that she completely avoids penny stocks, and Kunal gave a range of somewhere between 8 to 10, right? Okay, so hope we got your query answered. And on that note, I would like to thank all our viewers who tuned in today and sent us their queries. Please do tune in on Monday as well and have a good weekend. Thank you very much, Sharmila as well as Kunal, for joining us today and helping our viewers with their queries. Well, that's all that we have today on this edition of Ask PQ.
You have amazing memory, I must say. You remembered one of the first queries. But on that note, thank you so much for joining us on this show. You can keep your queries coming in, and we promise to address as many of them as possible on our shows. The next show, of course, is on Monday. You can also log on to the website bloombergquid.com and search for the hashtag AskPQ and get answers to all of the queries that were discussed on the show. Alternatively, you can just ping Navneet and she'll tell you all the answers. But thanks so much for watching. Do stay tuned. This is Bloomberg Quint.